Right. So today we're going deep on something pretty fascinating. I think the world of children's stories.
I love it.
Yeah. And specifically, we've got this article, How Storytelling Shapes a Child's Mind, with a focus on the power of,
Right.
positive, uplifting stories.
Love good stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And we're really trying to get to the bottom of,
Yeah.
how did these stories actually impact
See it?
these young minds?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we're talking about, like how they develop a positive outlook, their brain development, emotional intelligence,
Right.
creativity, and,
That sense of self-belief.
yeah, that essential belief in themselves.
Yeah, it's huge.
It really is.
And you know what we really want to try and give everyone listening today is,
Yeah.
is like a clear picture of how all this actually works, right? Not just that stories are nice and fun and we all enjoy them, but like what's actually going on in the brain?
The mechanisms at play.
Yeah, exactly. Like the science of it, and how they become these building blocks for, understanding their own emotions, being able to think creatively. And what this means for parents, teachers, caregivers, anyone really
Who are just interested in.
invested in a child's growth.
Exactly.
So we're pulling out like the really core impactful insights from this article to try and make this as engaging and useful as possible.
So let's unpack all of that then.
Okay.
And I think the best place to start is really with that bedrock.
Yeah.
The science of it all.
Yeah.
How do stories actually affect the brain?
Right.
Because it's pretty amazing when you think about it. Like
Yeah.
when a child is completely engrossed in a story,
Oh yeah.
it's not just, one little part of their brain that's lighting up.
Totally.
This article talks about how multiple regions are active, right? We've got the language processing centers, obviously,
Of course.
but then also areas that are dealing with sensory input, emotions, memory.
It's amazing, isn't it? It's like this whole, I always think about it like a symphony orchestra.
Oh, okay.
Right? Like all these different sections playing their part and creating this incredible...
Working together.
Exactly. And so, when a child is hearing a story, especially one that's really rich in imagery, full of emotion, it's actually engaging their mirror neuron system.
Oh, wow. I've heard about that.
Yeah. And this is like key to how we understand and empathize with other people.
Right.
So you can see why stories are so powerful for kids to actually retain information.
Yeah.
But even more than that, it's like exercising their ability to think critically and to really step into someone else's shoes and feel what they might be feeling.
Right. Imagine what it would be like.
Exactly.
To be in their situation.
Right.
And it goes even deeper than that, too.
It does.
Because the article talks about how these positive stories actually strengthen the neural pathways that are associated with optimism.
Right.
Problem-solving emotional regulation.
Yeah.
So can you explain a little bit more about what those neural pathways are and how they're actually affected by stories?
Yeah. So I always like to think of neural pathways as like well-trodden roads in the brain.
Okay.
And these roads are what connect different areas and allow information to travel really smoothly and efficiently.
Okay.
So the more that a pathway is used,
for
example, through hearing these optimistic stories over and over again,
or
stories where character, they face challenges, but they overcome them.
They succeed.
Yeah, they succeed. Exactly.
Yeah.
That connection, that pathway becomes stronger and more efficient.
Oh, so it's like building up a muscle almost.
Yeah, it's like building a muscle.
Yeah.
And then because that pathway is stronger, it's more likely that a child is going to, naturally gravitate towards those positive thoughts and those ways of coping with challenges in their own life.
So it's like building a foundation.
Totally. It's like building a mental infrastructure for resilience.
I love that. Yeah.
It's so important.
And this all really ties into, another big aspect of child development.
Yeah.
Which is building emotional intelligence.
Absolutely.
And the article makes this really bold statement that stories are one of the most potent tools that we have.
Yeah, I think they're right.
For this.
I think they're right.
So why is that the case?
I think it's because stories are like these amazing emotional simulators.
Okay.
Interesting. They give children this safe space to explore all these feelings, that come with being human.
Right, it can be so confusing for them.
It's so confusing, right?
Yeah.
They're just starting to figure it all out.
Yeah.
And so through these characters and their experiences, kids witness, joy, sadness, anger, fear.
The whole range.
Yeah, the whole range.
Yeah.
And what's really important is they see how these emotions are managed.
Okay.
And what the consequences might be.
Right. Like what happens if you don't manage your anger well?
Exactly.
Exactly.
Right. So it's like a practice run for real life emotional situations.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, they get to see it play out in a safe environment.
Right. And they get to see the consequences.
Exactly.
Without having to experience them firsthand.
Yeah. And it's not just about, understanding their own feelings.
Right.
The article talks about this too.
Yeah.
It's also about cultivating empathy.
Yeah.
That ability to really understand and share the feelings of someone else.
To actually connect.
Yes, to connect and to see the world from their perspective.
And that's so important.
It's so important, because when a child follows a character's journey, they start to understand their motivations. They see their emotional responses. And they start to grasp that, people are different. And we all react to things in different ways. And it just makes the world a much richer and more interesting place.
Right. And they can start to appreciate that.
Yeah. The article gives some good examples, too.
Okay.
Like those classic tales of friendship and teamwork.
Yeah.
Those inherently teach children the importance of cooperation.
Right, because you've got to work together.
You have to work together.
Yeah.
And then stories that focus on overcoming obstacles.
Yeah.
Those build resilience, right? Because they see that.
You can get through it.
You can get through it even when things are tough.
And the article also talks about, the importance of not just passively listening to stories.
Yes.
Right. It's about really engaging.
It's about engaging.
With them.
Yeah.
So it's not just about pressing play and walking away.
No, not at all.
Right.
That active engagement, that's key to actually internalizing those lessons.
So how do you actually do that then?
Well, I think it starts with, talking about the story.
Okay.
Discussing the characters' feelings, their choices, the consequences of those choices, really helping children develop their emotional vocabulary and articulate their own responses to what's happening in the story.
So it's like prompting them with questions.
Yeah, got
it. Like, what do you think about this? Or how does that make you feel? Or...
Totally. And that lays the groundwork for, healthier social interactions too.
Okay. How so?
Because when they can articulate their own feelings, they become much more attuned to the feelings of others.
Right.
And they can respond in a more thoughtful way.
So it builds that awareness not only of themselves.
Yes, as of themselves and of others.
Of others.
It's like this beautiful cycle.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit now.
Okay.
And talk about something that I think we all love.
Right.
Which is this idea of creativity and imagination.
Yes. It's so powerful.
And the article describes it so beautifully, how storytelling really ignites
it does.
This imaginative spark in a child's mind.
Yeah.
And allows them to explore new ideas and worlds and just completely different realities.
And what's fascinating is that these imaginative leaps that they're taking aren't just, frivolous fun.
Right.
They're actually crucial to their development.
Interesting.
Yeah, because by envisioning all these different scenarios and possibilities, they're literally expanding their mental horizons.
Yeah.
And the article really highlights how these uplifting stories in particular can be so inspiring.
Okay.
They encourage children to dream big, to believe in their own potential to do amazing things.
Because they see it happening.
They see it happening in the stories.
Right.
So it plants this little seed of possibility.
I love that.
Yeah, it's powerful.
And it's not just about, like these big grand aspirations either.
Right.
It's also very practical.
It is.
Like the article talks about how seeing characters overcome these challenges.
Yeah.
It instills this sense of, I can do it too.
Totally. I can handle this.
Yeah, like they're building this mental playbook.
Exactly.
For how to handle difficulties.
It's like they're watching a master class in problem solving.
Yeah. And they're taking notes subconsciously.
Totally.
Yeah.
And, so many of these positive stories, they feature characters who use their, ingenuity and courage, and they work together as a team to solve problems.
Yeah.
And so by watching these strategies play out in the story, kids are learning that obstacles can be overcome.
Right. There are solutions.
There are solutions, and there are different ways to find them.
Yeah.
It might be through creative thinking. It might be through just not giving up. Perseverance.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's through working together.
Teamwork,
exactly.
Yeah.
So it just broadens their understanding of what's possible when they face a challenge in their own lives.
Yeah.
And it makes them more adaptable, because they've got all these different tools in their toolbox.
Right. And this brings us to, a really important point, which is the role of the adults.
Yes.
In a child's life, parents, teachers, caregivers.
Right, the grown-ups.
Yeah. And the article emphasizes how crucial they are.
They're so important.
In selecting and sharing these positive stories.
They're the gatekeepers.
Yeah, so it's not just about picking any story off the shelf.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
It's about being intentional.
Yeah.
About what we're exposing these young minds to.
So what should we be looking for then?
Well, the article highlights, the importance of choosing stories that really emphasize those core values that we've been talking about, hope, kindness, the celebration of achievement, because those are the stories that are going to cultivate confidence and a truly positive outlook in young minds.
And it's not just a passive role either, right? Like reading the story out loud.
It's so much more than that.
Right. The article talks about how storytelling can be this really dynamic, interactive experience.
Yeah.
And even encouraging children to create their own stories.
No, I love that.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
It is amazing because when children become the authors of their own narratives, they're not just passively absorbing information.
Right.
They're actively shaping it.
Okay.
And that process, it just strengthens their ability to think positively and constructively.
So they're internalizing it even more.
They are. They're taking ownership of it.
Yeah.
And, when they create their own tales of triumph and kindness and overcoming challenges, it deepens their understanding of those themes.
Okay, so what are some other things that parents and educators can do to make the most of story time?
Well, the article talks about, asking questions during the reading.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think is so simple, but so effective.
Like what kind of questions?
Things like, how do you think the character felt in that moment? Or what might you have done in that situation? Really simple questions, but they encourage a much deeper level of engagement.
Right.
And they get kids thinking critically about the motivations and emotions of the characters.
Okay.
And they start to think about, what are the different things I could do?
Right.
And what might happen if I make this choice versus that choice?
So taking it beyond the page.
It's bridging that gap between the fictional world of the story and their own real lives.
And the article actually mentions a specific resource.
Yes, it does.
Towards the end that I wanted to touch on.
Yeah.
And it's all about positive storytelling.
Right.
It's called
Rhyming and Rhythm Stories.
Yes. Rhyming and Rhythm Stories for Children's Self-Esteem and Upliftment.
Catchy title?
Yeah.
Yeah.
By Tremaine Mitchell.
Yes, I've heard good things.
Yeah. And it's a collection of 10 books.
Wow.
And it's launching exclusively on Amazon on April 1st, 2025.
Okay.
So coming up soon.
Fair.
And the article highlights this collection as, a really valuable tool for empowering young readers. And it's all about, that engaging power of rhythm and rhyme.
Kids love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it focuses on building self-confidence, resilience, and a love for reading.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. So if you're looking for some great stories to share with the children in your life, this could be a really good place to start.
Definitely.
So to wrap up this deep dive,
the
message from this article is so clear.
Crystal clear.
Storytelling is so much more than just entertainment.
Oh, yeah.
It's this really fundamental and powerful tool for shaping young minds. And we're not just talking about, like keeping them occupied for a few minutes. We're talking about laying the groundwork for emotional resilience, fostering creativity.
Those crucial life skills.
Yeah, instilling those essential life skills.
Yeah.
And it's all through sharing these positive and uplifting stories.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It really is.
The power of stories.
Yeah. And by intentionally choosing stories that emphasize hope and kindness and perseverance and courage and weaving them into a child's life, we're nurturing the development of these well-rounded, emotionally intelligent, optimistic little humans.
Yeah, and that impact can last a lifetime.
It really can.
Yeah.
So as you reflect on everything that we've talked about today, I want you to think about this.
All right.
What's an uplifting story that has really resonated with you?
Oh.
Maybe from your own childhood, Or maybe you've seen the story make a real difference in the life of a child that you know.
Right.
What were those elements of the story that made it so impactful? Was it the characters, the journey, the message?
Yeah.
Take a moment to think about that.
Yeah.
And maybe even share your thoughts with someone.
I love that.
It really shows that, the power of a well-crafted, positive story.
Yeah, they can stay with us forever.
They really can.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive.
Well, that was fun.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
Me too.
Yeah, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
And until next time, happy reading.
Happy reading.
Absolutely.
So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
See you later.